to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas honor is honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. We should have a particularly short meeting, which is good. I don't believe anybody signed up for public comment, so we have no public comment. You have in front of you, and you've received the email as well, the minutes of our last meeting. I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as they've been submitted.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed?
Kenny,
All right.
Kenny, excuse me.
Yes.
You didn't do roll call.
Oh, you are absolutely right. Let us confirm our quorum here. I will do roll call, and if you're here, just answer present, please. Cynthia Ramirez. Eduardo Mena.
Present.
Israel Irvali. Jackie York. Joshua Acevedo.
Present.
Sergio Coronado.
Here.
Shane Haggerty.
Here.
Annie Berg, I am here. And Walter Miller will be here in a little bit, but he's not here at this time. But I want to verify we do have a quorum. Thank you very much, Ed. I was just going by this thing, and I just didn't see it. Okay. Financial records, financial reports.
Good evening, Rosa Goldman, Chief Financial Officer. We are presenting the financial report for the month of August 2023. The financial report contains the balance sheet, report of revenues, expenditures, and changes in cash balance, the investment report, and the note to the financial report. For the month of August, if you look at your third page from the report, we have some additional over budget accounts, like on printing. We have $5,950 additional over budget, and it's the same because of some, procedures packets that the ARB has to get printed. And then we have had several new employees hired, so we need to do, the business cards and then position changes. So this requires also business cards. And then we have under the bond general insurance, $71 over budget. It was just one new notary. And then under books, publications, and subscriptions, we have $2,610 over budget. Were additional subscriptions that were not budgeted, or some that were budgeted, but the price came to be higher than what we budgeted. The appraisal review board, $9,925, and it's still due to the increase in protests and hearings. The taxpayer liaison officer expense, it went over budget by $428 due to the IAAO 2023 conference that she attended. And then we have there the Board of Directors election reserve for the $527,886, which was encumbered. And we just need to show it as over budget because it was not budgeted. That's the only reason why it has to be there. Now, when it comes to overall budget, we are fine. The preliminary numbers show that we are going to have still about $500,000, available
Excess.
to return, excess to return to the taxing entities. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Eddie.
Chair. So for the encumbered funds, what is the amount that we need to reach by March? 700,000? Is that what we agreed on?
We need probably closer to 800,000.
Right.
And if we have enough excess, plus this encumbered
Right.
funds, we'll barely have it. But it's all contingent on the passing of this resolution, which is probably, the proposition's going to pass.
Okay.
So it's all contingent on the proposition that,
But by then, we should have already the new budget also, the new budget year. The new budget year, which is the current, the one that just started.
We need to put funds aside just in case if that resolution doesn't pass.
doesn't pass.
So
Are you
we're gonna
saying
need
doesn't
these-
pass or does?
If it doesn't pass. I mean, and you're saying it does, but at the last minute they throw a monkey wrench
If he
in the
does,
system.
if he doesn't pass, then we will have this money
Yeah,
available.
it's still our money, it's just
Do we-
encumbered for that.
I guess my question is, can we, the taxing entities, can we,
We would refund it to the entities.
yes.
Yeah, definitely.
If we have that kind of surplus, it would be refunded to the entities. The only issue here is, remember that proposition lifts the exemption for a personal homestead from
400 to
40,000 to 100,000.
right?
So I can't imagine, I hate the proposition, and I'm gonna have a hard time myself not passing it. So there is a clause in there that changes the structure of us and the ARB. And the responsibility of the ARB becomes the responsibility of the Central Appraisal District, which is totally screwy. But we're contingent that it may pass, because we can't be surprised all of a sudden
That's
and
what
need to have
worries
the
me.
election.
That's exactly what worries
If
me.
we have to have an election to elect 3 people to this board, we need to have the funds, and I believe we were told that those funds would be somewhere in the $800,000 or more category.
I mean, it's
So
good to see.
assuming it is 800,000, we are encumbered, we are encumbering, we have already encumbered as of August, 527,000. Once we hit the new budget year, which started this month, October 1st, we have the contingency amount, which is available for that purpose.
Right.
So we should be okay?
Sergio, did you have a question?
Yeah, is there, and I haven't read the statute yet, but is there a possibility that we might be able to save by trying to schedule the elections with some other elections so we don't have to bear the?
Mandated
I think
by-
Dinah looked into it, sir.
It's mandated by the legislature.
I know, but maybe we can,
We can't because the elections are mandated to happen in the May general election date. And this coming year, the primaries are happening in March. So the election office was not planning to have May elections. So we're basically going to be expensed for the whole cost of having May elections because there's nothing else that's going to be done. And we can't do the November election because the law says that the new board of directors have to take office in July. So we can't wait that long. And unless the legislature goes into special session and changes it, but that doesn't seem likely. So that's the time frame we have right now. And we talked to the county elections administrator, and she said they're in disarray too because nobody on the elections side, because they get a lot of stuff from the Secretary of State, really knows what's going to happen or how things need to be done. So they're kind of scrambling to set everything up. So this kind of has taken everybody by surprise because we didn't know it was going to happen until the very last second this
we
summer.
can talk to our delegation, see about they can fix this for the next session so that we
By
don't,
the time they get around to it, which will be in January,
yeah.
we will have already passed the December possibility.
But at least for the following.
On the next cycles, I think we can
Yeah,
couple up with other
yeah, we
elections.
need to try and get
But
that.
at the end of the day, to have an independent election to elect 3 members to this board, which has very little authority. This authority of this board basically is to hire and fire Dinah Kilgore, and that's it.
Approve the
I mean,
budget.
and to have oversight over what's going on, which is what we do, the budget, we oversee it. But we have very little authority. It's a good board, and you need to be on here because you represent your constituency on here. And you're the tax, guess what? When this new thing passes, some of you won't be here because their system for electing people to this board changes the ability of some of your entities. You get a percentage. We're going to have to combine certain entities in order to get enough of a voting authority to actually have people on the board. The county, for example, will end up with no representation on this board, although the county is the second largest recipient of the funds
Well,
coming from this.
they'll have the county tax assessor.
Will be on the board as a voting member?
I don't,
I don't think he has a vote.
I don't know if he's got a vote or not. Right now, we think he doesn't, but that may change.
Yeah, I don't remember that, I didn't see anything that said that the county tax assessor had a vote.
It says ex officio,
That's what it says,
Yeah,
but
which is silly. It's
County
silly. that
Attorney's
the-
Office is looking into that to see whether or
Yeah.
not the legislation actually gets rid of the county representative or
It's
not.
insanity. I mean, by all means, you guys should have somebody sitting here
Yeah.
overviewing what's happening with the budget of the state president that collects the taxes that you guys need to operate your system. So
Well, at least if we can get the ex officio member to be voting member, then that would solve the issue.
I would prefer it be one of your appointees, but
Yes.
either way.
We've heard two interpretations of ex officio. One attorney said ex officio doesn't have anything to do with whether you can vote or not. It just means that you have that position due to another position that you hold.
Oh.
But it doesn't say that you can't vote. But other attorneys have said, no, if you're ex officio, you can't vote. So we haven't had a definitive answer from anybody yet on whether
We
the
will get
county
a
tax
legal
assessor-
opinion.
Yeah.
Not at this meeting, but we'll get a legal, if the proposition passes. So the vote is this week, I think Saturday is the last day. So if it passes, we'll need to get a legal opinion. I've always maintained that an ex officio member does not have a vote. An at-large member does, but an ex officio member does not. And I'm pretty good with my Robert's Rules of Order.
And the other thing that I
don't
understand
know,
is,
but you guys.
is that the bills are going out as if the proposition has passed.
Yes. they
Well,
are.
I've already you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because I can't see anybody voting against it.
Yeah.
But if they read the whole thing, they'd probably still vote for it like me, but they'd hold their nose for the last
Yeah.
couple sentences.
Now remember, when we have this election next year, it's going to be for a 4-year term.
Right.
So there's not going to be another election for
For
4
4
years. So we won't have this
Annually.
money crunch
think it's
right
staggered,
now. We'll
though,
have
David.
more time to build
I
up.
think it's
to it.
staggered, David.
Yeah.
I think it's staggered. I don't think it's 4 years for everybody. The first one's not staggered?
It's not?
I think, I'm almost sure it's staggered, where they have,
Well, I think
Two,
two
two,
of
two,
them
two,
are
two.
4
I
years
think
and one
Dana
of
said
them's
that it's
2
gonna be
years.
staggered 2 and 2 to
Yeah.
4 years.
we'll have to get a clarification.
Well,
But
I mean,
because if it's for 4 years, then you've got 4 years of no elections. I don't believe that's how it was originally intended. So we'll see. Whatever it is, it's not there yet. We have to move on. Is there any other question
Wait.
to Rosa? Yes, of course.
I guess just to add to this discussion, how are we promoting the election happening, like for people to sign up? And then are people going to have to do a filing fee when they file?
I believe so. We just got some guidance from Representative Gonzalez's office that pointed us to the Secretary of State's website. And I believe we have to post in the paper by December 18th that those positions are up for election. And then I believe it was, they have from September to March to file. And I'm assuming that the county elections department is going to ask for filing fees or I think you can also do petitions or something, but
But we don't
Question
know.
was, it's promotion. I mean, how do you promote? I mean, at the end of the
well,
day,
I
you
mean,
ask.
we'll put it on the website and try to get it on social media.
Yeah, and I guess that's what more like I'm asking because
My fear would be nobody runs.
Right.
We
that's-
definitely want 3 people to run.
Yeah.
The worst part would be if only one person runs and we have 2 vacancies. I don't even know that they've set up a procedure how to fill those vacancies. You know, if somebody doesn't win or doesn't get, I don't think that is even, the legislature has even thought about that. So
To wait and see what.
first we got to pass the proposition, then we'll get better. So by January, February, you guys will have a lot more clarity. But my real fear is if we don't have 3 people, if they realize they don't have any authority and 3 people don't run, what are we going to do? And we can't have ARB appointments without at least 2 out of those 3 people in approval. So it becomes even more, it's a nightmare if we don't get 3 people to run. So just thought.
We'll see.
You know what my feelings are, so we'll move on. Any other questions of Rosa? So Rosa, we have excess of revenues of 2.7 million. You think by the end of the year that should be around 400,000? And that coupled with our encumbered money will be enough. We have enough reserve as far as our legal staff is concerned. That's in here as well.
We are covered.
So any other questions? We should have a balanced or a positive budget, even with the potential of an election.
Okay.
Sad, but that's how it is. Any other questions? Do we have to approve, is this an action
Yes.
item? I need a motion to
Motion to
accept.
approve.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you,
Thank you.
Rosa. As always, appreciate you a lot. All right. So we've generally not had a meeting in December because of Christmas. So we're open to discussion as to whether we should. There's not a lot of work that gets done between now and the end of the year. The hearings have all been heard by the ARB. If you would like, we could have a meeting in December. It would be almost at Christmas time. Or we could defer we only are supposed to meet 4 times a year. So the answer is we meet every month because we feel it's important. If you'd like to defer the December meeting, we can make it in January. What's your feeling? What is your opinions?
Unless there's something that,
Right, if there's something
Diana, that's
important,
something
we'll
that she
call a
says we
special
need to call it, we can even call it by not having it the regular.
We can call a special
fourth
meeting if we need
Tuesday
to.
or whatever, just call a special meeting, I think. I think we should just,
Mr.
that okay,
Stone, is
Shane?
there any pertinent
No,
things happening in
we
December?
should not have anything that needs urgent attention.
Do we close down for a week or 2 weeks in December?
No, we just closed down for Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and New Year's.
So I entertain a motion then that we defer, subject to a special need, meeting for December till January.
I move that we defer the monthly board meeting and, subject to having a, special meeting as required.
Second? Second by Shane. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, also, we have a CAD's holiday schedule. You just heard David give you a little background. He'll give you a little bit more. Should be in here under tab.
Yeah, at the
Five.
back of your packet, we've
Five.
got the 2023 holiday schedule and the proposed 2024 schedule. There's basically no change between the two. There's 15 holidays, same as we did this year. And so we're asking the board to approve the
So
2024.
Sergio, this is kind of your answer.
Yeah.
If you look at,
Motion
under
to
tab
approve.
5, motion to approve, is there a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? So the schedule stays the same as the previous year. Just the dates will be moved to just the year calendar. Okay, let me get back to this. All right. First and foremost, before we say anything, I cannot tell you how much we're sorry about the loss of your brother. I just want you to know, all of us share, in fact, the whole family here, this whole building is sorry
You'd be
about you.
amazed how much love and support I got from everybody in this building.
Us too. I just want you to know, us too.
Thank you.
So sorry to hear.
So Tracy, can we have a taxpayer liaison officer report?
Good evening, Board of Directors. Tracy Carter, Taxpayer Liaison Officer. Well, we started the advertising for the Appraisal Review Board members in September. So we had a really good turnout. I got 34 applications. 11 of the current ARB members are reapplying for their next term. We have 2 previous ARB members are trying to come back. So that would give us 13. Then we have 21 new applicants. So Judge Bettis is going to do her interviews here October 30th and 31st, and she's also going to appoint the chairman of the board, secretary, and deputy secretary. The ARB this month had the ARB training with their attorney, Roy Armstrong, and this is the last time they're meeting for the year. They'll probably meet up again in January. And the ARB was in session October 16th through the 19th to hear the motions to correct protests, the late protest, and all the state comptroller's reports that are required of me to send for the comments and suggestions have been sent out October the 20th. The deadline for that was December 31st. But since the ARB's done, I went ahead and sent out the report.
Chair, I have a
Yes.
question. So you have 21 ARB board members, and we need 40? Or
No,
60?
so we need a total of 45. So right now,
Up to, Eddie.
Up
It
to.
doesn't have to be 45. We have up to 45 positions.
yes, so right now we have 25 positions because the ARB members have another year of their term. So we have 25 coming back. So the judge needs to appoint a total of 20 people.
At capacity.
Up to,
Yes.
Okay, I
just
got
want to
you.
make sure, up to 20.
I just don't want to be short and overwhelm the board.
Well, that's what we'll have. If we don't get more, then these 25 are going to have to handle everything, which they can't. So we're going to need 20 more. Also, my question to you is, you said there are a couple that are coming back.
Yes, there are two ARB members that had served previous terms that reapplied
You're
again.
going to love this question. So we set up a schedule that if they were contiguous and they served 2 years, 4 years, or 6 years, we were going to give them money. If they come back, do they start over at the beginning?
No.
Oh, so we give them credit for the years they've
That
served?
helped us.
Yes, they get credit for the years that they serve. So if they serve 2 terms, if they get reappointed this year,
come
they're
back
only
as
going
a
to get 1 more term.
So
2
my
years.
question is, if they've served 3 terms, 2 terms, and 1 term, can they come back after a couple of years and serve again, or is that it for them?
After 6 years, they're done. But yes, they can come back again. If they only serve 2 terms,
No, if they've served 6 years,
no, they cannot come back.
not even 10 years down the road.
No, they cannot come back.
So you all get, you get a 6-year shot at this,
You're termed
at this,
out.
you're termed out.
Yes.
Okay, that's
For the
the
state
question.
legislator, they
So
cannot
that's
come back
why
after their
we did
3
get some back
terms.
Like
because
the
we
United
raised
States Senate.
No, they stay forever. You kidding?
Those guys, man.
All right, so, any other questions? Do you have any questions of Tracy? She really, this is an off time for her. Her big time will be coming up when the ARB is powerful and moving and we have everybody elected starting the beginning of the year. So, I do want to, take a moment. I was going to do it under, we don't have a new business, old business, but each of you has received, 2 packets. Now, one says CA evaluations, the other says TLO evaluation. We're required to do this every year. And this will be the evaluation of Dinah and Tracy, of our appraisal review board liaison and our chief appraising officer here at the Central Appraisal District. You cannot, and I'm going to say it strongly, you cannot discuss this among yourselves. You can discuss it with yourself, but not among yourselves. If you have any questions, refer them to our attorney, or to David, or to Dinah, or to me, or to Tracy. You can call anybody. Do not call each other, because that constitutes a mini quorum, and it puts us in jeopardy.
Oh, the
Puts you
walking-
in jeopardy.
Calls it walking quorum.
Right. So please, please look it over. If you have any questions, there are resources available to have your questions answered. But under no circumstances, please do not call each other. And certainly do not discuss how you're going to evaluate with another board member. So if Walter's not here, and I'm using him because he's not here, and Josh doesn't know, and he wants, please don't call Walter, and Sergio, don't call Eddie, call one of us. Or the best thing to do is call the attorney, because she can give you the best advice, but you can call one of us if you need a clarification, but under no circumstances, please do not discuss it with each other.
And you would be calling Joe Longoria,
Oh, okay, yes,
because
you'd be calling-
he's
that's
general
true.
counsel.
That's right, you'd be calling Joe Longoria. And we have his number. It's
Everybody has his
available.
number?
It's in you, you received at the beginning of the year a list of all the phone numbers of everybody. Some of the numbers were wrong as far as board members are concerned, but as far as Joe Longoria, it was right on the button. So you have Joe's, Dinah's, David's number, you have Tracy's number, you have my number. Those are all good numbers. So use those numbers if you need to, if you don't need to. Now, we're not gonna take time out of this meeting. You can take it with you, bring it back. You don't email it back, don't email questions. If you have questions, pick up the phone and call. Do not email, because those are issues that can be subpoenaed. So if you have an issue, the best thing to do is pick up the phone and call. Bring these back, filled in, my recommendation is get them to me. Do not get them to Dinah, do not get them to Tracy, do not get them to David. Get them to me, and I will get them back to the office. You have my address.
So I think there's a return envelope in here, right?
Oh, just make sure you put, thank you.
So fill it out,
Put it in the
guys.
return envelope.
Fill it out.
Is it my address on the return envelope? I don't know, I'm thinking
Yes, it is.
Executive Center?
Yes, it is.
So that's what you do, is you just put it in the envelope and send
Right
it
here,
back.
it's got the stamp on there
I
already.
promise you, this won't take you an hour. It will take you just a couple minutes. The forms are pretty standard. We've used them all over. I will say this, if you have a suggestion maybe for us to change the form for next year, we'll entertain that, of course. But for this year, fill Tracy's in so we can get that out of the way. Like to get these in by the end of the year. So
Yeah, no,
the
so as
sooner
soon
you can
as
get them back to
possible.
me, the better off we are. And there's an envelope in there. Does it have, is it stamped?
It's stamped, it's got your
Ah,
address.
so you don't even have to put a stamp on it, just
Yeah,
throw.
last year, they all came to me. My advice to you guys is to, the evaluations are always, we tend to do this number and put it in the shelf somewhere and forget about them.
Don't.
Do it right then and there.
Do it
Sit
today,
down,
do it tomorrow, at the
do it
latest.
in the morning with a good cup of coffee, and you do it from the heart, because judge people. You can judge people when you walked in their shoes for at least a mile or 5 miles. Some, they're good people. They're awesome people, and they work their tails off. And don't call other board members, please, because you'll get in trouble.
Please.
You'll get in trouble real quick.
So constructive criticism, not destructive. We want if you have criticism, make it constructive. If you do have, and believe me, they want it. So if you
Yes,
have
we do.
constructive criticism, we're glad to have that, not destructive. Let's not do
So
anything.
Tanya,
we're not
what you're
looking-
gonna have to do is you and the board secretary are gonna have to meet along with Mr. Rick, right?
We'll do that.
You guys set up a meeting. And
Give me another card. Give me another card.
you can ride in this Porsche on the way over here.
You can ride in my Jaguar, we're gonna
Or your
trade.
Jaguar, yeah. And sit down and take everybody's paper, evaluate them. Rick's got an awesome screen there with evaluations, and you'll sit down and do it.
We'll do it. We'll get it all done. So I want to report this back to the board by January meeting. So, Jim Phillips was a good friend of mine. Now, those of you who knew him, Jim was with Wells Fargo Bank. And he used to tell me things like this, if you keep it on your desk, it begins to smell after 3 days.
Exactly.
So he said, just get it done. Whenever he would do pledge cards, he would say, get the pledge cards done the first couple of days because they start smelling
You're
after
gonna
about
need at
3
least
days.
5.
I need at least 5. Well, there's 5 of us here. If you guys will just do it, I'll get these. We're going to register mail these to the people who aren't here. So we're not going to, and we're going to follow up with a phone call, but we're just going to register mail. We're not going to hand deliver it. They're going to be registered mail with return receipt requested. So we'll definitely try to get it to them.
And make some phone calls. The ones that are missing, hey, listen,
There's only 4 more. We'll get it done. Any questions on both the Central Appraisal District Executive Director's form or Chief Appraiser's form or on the liaisons form? Please just call one of those I mentioned. Don't call each other. That's Eddie's message to you too.
Thank you.
All right, any questions more of Tracy and her duty as the liaison officer?
you, Tracy.
Thank you for what you do, and again. All right, guess what, David? You get, okay, handing to David. Dinah is in San Antonio, giving a speech, actually. She was giving a speech yesterday. So David is ably standing in for her today.
Diana she doesn't apologize, but she's out because she's teaching some classes out of town and she hasn't been able to get back yet. I'll let you know give her chief appraiser report. Tanny mentioned the evaluations, they're very important. So I just want to emphasize if y'all could please fill them out and send them back to us so Diana can get her evaluation. Last month, we talked about a training day that we had on October 10th. We had 4 main groups. We had the Sheriff's Department teaching us about active shooter training. We had a motivational speaker. We had the Mental Health and Behavioral Center talking about how to deal with mental health issues and help people that may have problems. And we had our employment attorney coming in and talking about responsibilities of employees and duties of employees. So the staff, we heard very positive reactions to the training, and it's something that we're hoping to do in the future again. Very positive reactions from all the staff, and it was very informative. Yesterday, we had a health fair for the staff, which was also very positively received. They learned about opportunities like gyms that they could join, some of the benefits that we offer that people may not be taking advantage of. We had many tables with vendors that could educate people and offer them opportunities. And that was in the morning yesterday, and the staff was very, very happy to have that too. So that was more outreach for the staff that we were happy to provide. We provided the bill file to the city tax office at the beginning of October. It was a challenge this year because of the last minute changes made by the legislature, particularly with respect to tax freeze adjustments for people that had frozen taxes. We think we've got everything straightened out. The bills went out to people, as Commissioner Coronado mentioned. The new $100,000 homestead exemption is on the bills that went out, even though it hasn't been approved by the voters. And also, several adjustments to the tax freeze were applied that have to be approved by the voters. And specifically, and the tax freeze applies to people that are over 65 or disabled. There's one adjustment, and these only apply to the schools, not to any other taxing entity. But first of all, the legislature has been compressing the school district's M&O rate since 2019. Every year it gets ratcheted down. And the people that had freezes were complaining that they weren't getting any tax relief from that because their taxes were frozen at a certain dollar amount. So everybody else was getting a reduction when the M&O rate got ratcheted down, and the senior citizens were like, well, what about us? We're not getting any relief. So the legislature decided to go back to 2019 and look at how much the M&O rate got reduced every year and reduce the tax freeze by a proportionate amount. So that was the first adjustment that we were going to do, and that got approved in the 2021 legislature. But they weren't going to implement it until this year. Well, as part of the increase of the homestead exemption to $100,000, the legislature decided that last year they raised the homestead exemption from $25,000 to $40,000. So there was a $15,000 increase. And again, we had the senior citizens saying all the other taxpayers got some relief from that, but we didn't get any relief from that. So part of the proposition for thing that everybody's going to vote for in November is that they're going to take the tax on $15,000 at the 2022 tax rate and subtract that from the tax freeze. Then they increased the homestead exemption to $100,000 this year. Now, again, they just raised it another $60,000 over what it was last year. So they told the seniors, okay, you're going to get the tax on $60,000 knocked off of your freeze. So this was very advantageous to senior citizens. And we're kind of estimating if you had your taxes frozen before 2019 and your house is like $200,000 or less, your school taxes are probably going to be zero.
Right, nothing.
And many people saw on their bills that their taxes are zero for the school. Okay, so you might hear people say, hey, what's going on? That's what's going on.
My question to you, David, is how does that affect the school districts?
Well, the state is supposed to reimburse school districts out of the surplus money.
So
that
this
they
was
have.
happening, and it's all up in the air still. The state has, I think they were telling me $20 billion in reserves. They're going to use that to offset those costs so that we don't feel the punch.
Every year or just this first year?
And see, that's the question that came up.
The question.
Those reserves are going to run out eventually.
Yeah.
And we're going to be stuck with holding in a couple of years, we're going to be stuck. We're either going to have to raise taxes, which nobody wants, okay? And then it makes the school board officials look bad, and we don't get elected because Mr. Mena raised the taxes, or the state's going to have to come up with another plan to offset those $100,000.
They're capping the amount that they're willing to reimburse.
Exactly. So that's the plan. So the state has, I think, 18 billion or 20 billion dollars in reserves. And they told us not to worry, that they were gonna offset that money that we're gonna lose. That's a lot of money to lose.
Well, that's what, I mean, this is
My
substantial.
understanding is that tax reduction is going to be funded for this biennium, so for the next 2 years.
And
2
then-
years.
After that,
You're
it
on your
depends
own.
if the state has another surplus or not. If they don't, it's like Ed mentioned, school districts are going to end up having to raise, and they're going to look bad because we have
Or
to
they're gonna
raise
have to
it now.
shut services. I mean, that's the problem, is the kids are gonna suffer at the end. Because one way or the other, we've gotta make sure they have the revenue to run this.
And then when
We
you
have
have a.
4 constituents here,
Yeah.
3
And then
of school
When you
districts.
have a growing school district like Socorro ISD, when you're building schools and you're exploding at the seams, and then you try and pass a bond, taxpayers we're already taxing them on every little thing,
Right.
and they're like, no, we're not gonna vote for this $600 million bond. So it's not gonna pass, so what's gonna happen? We're not gonna
Sorry,
have
I
the
didn't mean to
schools.
interrupt you. I just
Yeah,
worry
I
about our
mean,
school
it,
districts.
it's a big question mark. Nobody knows what's going to happen 2 years from now. So, we'll just have to play it by ear and see what happens. Now, one thing I did want to mention is there was an issue with one of the school districts that they were planning to do an enrichment election for their, because the schools can add to their M&O rate a couple of cents for enrichment, and they were planning to do an enrichment election in November, but they did not talk to the election department, so they did not get it on the ballot. So they are not able to do the election, so they're going to have to roll their rate back and take off 5 cents that they're not going to be able to get from the election. So the tax office contacted us this week, and we had to provide them the information on all the properties in that school district with the new rate, and they're going to send new bills on.
And so your maintenance and operations, M&O account, your maintenance and operations accounts, you have 5 golden pennies. The board can use up to 5 golden pennies at their disposal. Anything over that, it takes an election. I don't even want to ask which school district that was.
Well, it was Anthony ISD. And so I think there's like almost 3,000 accounts, so it's not like
Okay.
a large impact, but of course it's an impact to the taxpayers that are affected. So, but the good news is their tax rate's going to go down by 5 cents. So that silver linings. Let me talk about Proposition 4. That's one of the propositions that are going to be voted on in this November election. That's the one that deals with the property taxes. Of course, everybody's aware that the homestead exemption for school districts is going to go from 40,000 to 100,000. That's the main draw for everybody. I mentioned before there's going to be some adjustments to tax freezes for over 65 and disabled people. Also, they're gonna institute a pilot program. Right now, we've got a 10% cap on homestead value. So if you live in your house, you can't go up more than 10% over what you were in the prior year. Well, they want to extend the cap to all real property. That includes commercial property, rental properties.
Really?
Yeah, and
Industrial.
it's going to be a 20% cap. So if any industrial, commercial, rental property goes up more than 20%, they're going to be capped at 20%.
Assuming there've been no improvements on that.
Right. If there's new construction, you can go up by the new construction plus 20%. But I believe this is supposed to last until 2026. They're doing it for a couple years to see how it works out. So this coming year will be the first year that we're going to do it. And so that's one thing. Another thing that the voters will be approving if they approve Proposition
I'm sorry,
4.
real property, does that include machinery, conveyor
No,
belts? No?
not business, personal property is not
Oh,
included.
okay.
So inventory, machinery and equipment, vehicles, they're not. affected.
Real
It's only buildings
estate,
and land,
okay.
basically. But even vacant land is gonna be affected.
Capped.
So, you know, we'll have to see what happens.
Is my understanding that it's 20% spaced out over 3 years, or is it 20% per year?
20% per year.
Per year?
Per year.
Okay.
So it seems to me that they're capping everything. Where is this funding going to come from now? Because we're capping and capping and capping.
Well, one of the cons over that, as you know, when they were having the arguments this summer over how they're going to do tax relief, the Senate wanted the 100,000 exemption, and the House wanted caps. Okay, good point. It's 5 million and below. So very large properties are not going to be capped.
All
But
right.
most properties are 5 million or below, the bulk of them in the county. So the House wanted caps, the Senate wanted exemptions. And this was the compromise, that they're going to do 20% cap and on the non-homestead property, because the homestead property is already capped at 10%. So there, you know, one of the con arguments I've heard is, well, if you cap everybody, then the entities are just going to raise the tax rates to get, because they need the amount of money that they need. And if you're capping everybody, then everybody's just going to get a higher tax rate. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
That leads to a turnover in elected officials.
yeah.
That's what it does.
It does.
Which is silly.
It really does.
And we have good elected officials, now you're gonna have to replace them because they're raising taxes. What else?
And the election of the board of directors are part of that proposition. And then I think there's some language to clean up how school funding gets appropriated for the state. So it's all piled into one proposition, which everybody's expecting is going to pass, because who's going to not vote on giving themselves a $100,000 homestead exemption?
Only for education, it's only for school districts.
Only for school
And
districts.
people don't understand, they think that they're gonna get a
Let me tell you.
$100,000 exemption on everything, it's only
you,
on school districts,
the tax-
which really hurts our school board.
The ISD people, the ISD schools are the highest taxing entities. If you look at your sheet, we're the ones that tax you the most. So it's a huge relief.
Yeah, but I mean, after the new exemption, that's not going to be true anymore. I think the city of El Paso is going to end up being
so,
the
too.
highest
City or
taxing
county,
entity. Yeah, so because of that exemption, that exemption is pretty powerful for properties that are like $200,000 and less. It's very powerful. So we won't know until the election whether it passes or not, but the legislature told the tax offices to send out the bills as if it was going to pass. So if it doesn't pass by some fluke, the tax office is going to have to mail new bills to everybody.
And how much is that going to cost?
I don't know.
We don't wanna go
It's
there.
not my budget.
It's gonna pass, it's gonna pass.
But yeah, so we're expecting it's going to pass, but if for some weird reason it doesn't, then new bills will go out. But all the bills went out, have all these relief things in them, and the taxpayers should see relief immediately this year, and then we'll move forward from there. The next thing I want to talk about is your entities need to reappoint their board members this year. I think notices have already gone out to all the entities, so make sure your entities reappoint you. Now, if your entity doesn't appoint anybody, you guys technically stay on until the entities decide to appoint somebody else. So historically, we've had issues, especially because this is coming towards the end of the year, and once we start hitting November and December, we've got the holidays, and boards are not meeting often, and so just remind your entities that y'all need to be reappointed, and that'll take care of any problems. So I just want to remind everybody about that. And I think that's all I have for the chief appraiser.
Any
report.
questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
All right. I think that's, unless you have some other business. Is there any other business anybody has?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? No executive session, by the way. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's 10 minutes till 6.
Till 6. All right, guys, well.
Thanks for your number.